And it's another hideous day here on the West Coast. Don't you just hate it when the weather's like this? Yeah, me too. Alright, so I have got a few bits and bobs that I have purchased that I need to install, and I'm going to tell you all about them. First, I have some panhead screws. These are going to mount the second fuel filter, and I'm going to replace the screws on the first one because they are countersunk, and while they work, I just don't like it. I want panhead screws on that. I bought a 3/8 to 1/4 male barb for the fuel pickup on the port side tank. Got to install that. And I bought this little guy. It is a brass barb fitting. Now that one is a little special, and I'm going to show you why right now. When I removed the fuel tanks, the port side one was very problematic. The water lock riser was in the way, and there was a couple of other things that were in the way, including this barb that I have to replace. And it was in a very strange spot. Let me show you. It's right here. And this is the hose that's fed to it. Like that. It was covered in foam, so I couldn't see exactly what it was at the time. And so I cut it off. I was working to get the tank out, and it was in the way, and I was frustrated, and I couldn't see the nut end on it. So I just cut the thing off. And when I started the engine up yesterday, this hose was spewing water out of it. Now I have no idea where it comes from or what it does, because it goes up underneath the gunnel here, disappears into a pile of expanding foam, and where it goes from there, I just don't know. I suspect it's probably coming from the water filter, but I don't know. I just don't know. What I do know is that when the engine is functioning, water is coming out of this, and it needs to go in here, because this is the cockpit drain. So I'm going to put that in right now. I'll show you the finished product, and then I will carry on with the other bits and bobs that I've got. So more coming out in a minute. As promised, I said I'd check in, let you know everything that I've done today. It's been kind of an odd job sort of a day, but productive nonetheless. So I think I will show you what I've done rather than just hear blah 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 blah. This is the second fuel filter. I retrieved it from storage. It's been back in this cubby hole hiding for as long as I've owned the boat. So I pulled it out and mounted it on the bulkhead. Odd thing is, I don't know if you can see this very clearly or not, but it's got 4 ports on it, and they're all connected to each other. I suppose that's to stop the fuel from leaking out. But this one is different than this one. This one has 1 input, 1 output. There's the possibility of another output on the other side, but it's plugged with a bung. So very simple, straightforward. And it's a little bit bigger. I think there's more volume in it than this one. This one has 2 in, 2 out. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to be hooked up, so I didn't hook it up. Which leads me to the next thing that I did today. This is the fuel pickup line for the starboard side tank, and it's 3/8 down to 1/4, so that it'll fit in one of these hoses here. But because I don't know what's what, I have not hooked that up. I mentioned this piece earlier. This is the brass fitting that goes into the cockpit drain, and I have hooked it up to the mystery water outflow. I'd really like to know what that's about, but I don't. And while I was down here, I realized that my throttle is not working properly, so I disconnected it so that the throttle body on the engine could move independently of the throttle control cable. This is the throttle body on the engine right here, and as you can see, it moves quite freely. The throttle cable, however, does not. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So when I work the lever, nothing happens down here. So before I can go anywhere, it has to be fixed. Last but not least, I know this looks awful, but underneath this beat up, algae covered, ripped up, torn up cover is my stainless steel barbecue. That's where it lived when I got the boat, and so that's where it's going to go back to. I have mounted it. It's kind of loose and didn't have the right size bolts. I need 1-inch bolts. Those are 1.5 or 2-inch bolts. Those here, and they're not threaded all the way up to the head, so I couldn't tighten them like I wanted to. But that's the last thing I did today, and it's about time to go home. The tide has come up nicely, so I don't have to haul the dinghy through the muck. I've got a bag full of garbage I need to get off the boat. So like I said, lots of little jobs, but all things that need to be done. Not in the clear yet. A friend asked me yesterday, are you ready to go sailing? And I said, well, almost. And he said, so that means no. Which is true. I could go sailing, but there'd be a lot of risk there with the engine throttle problem and the mast gate not being done and the seal on the cockpit hatch here not being done. I could probably get away with it, but we'll take the chance. So, but we are close. We're very, very, very close. That's the end of another day for me, so I will see you tomorrow, maybe. In the meantime, fair winds, following seas. God bless.